Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And this is our DIY tiny house just outside of Joshua Tree, California. The dimensions, it's 18 feet long, about 8 feet wide, standard trailer, and about 10 feet tall. We started the build in mid-2021 and wrapped it up in 2022. It's located in our backyard where there was already an RV pad.
We didn't really have to include any utilities since it's completely off-grid. Our tiny house is located on our property on a little hill, and then we have kind of this giant cactus and succulent garden that is all native plants to the Mojave Desert. And then we have a current in progress 50s Aristocrat that we are working on.
And next to the tiny house is our van, which is a more kind of accessible weekend trip house on wheels. So that's all the outside, but come check out the inside.
Welcome to Little Nook, our tiny but mighty creative space.
And it's about 150 square feet, not including the lofts. So we bought it as a shell that was partially finished on the inside from a solar company. So all the electric was done, but a lot of the other parts were not.
So the idea was to have a blank canvas where we could pursue our creative endeavors in a space away from home.
It's a really nice kind of breath of fresh air. You're kind of in a very clean but inviting and also different space than, being in the house. From the outside, it's kind of stark and metal and feels kind of almost modern and structural, but then you come in and it feels warm and inviting, and that dichotomy I think is really good for the creative process.
So starting over here is kind of our hangout area. I guess what in a tiny house would be the living room. We do have a couch where we do a lot of work from. I'm not a huge desk person, so you'll just kind of see me sprawled here a lot of the time. We had the wheel wells here, which were a little bit tricky, and it serves as like a fun little shelf to keep, trinkets and inspirational stuff that kind of talks to who we are and what the Mojave Desert brings. So the big priority with the space in general was to make it flexible. So as you can see, we have these stools, they actually nest within each other, so we can kind of move those around. You can sit on them, you can use them as tables. The couch itself, one big thing is that I can move it if needed, so I don't need Dave to come and help me. So everything is really flexible. We do have the mini split here, but if we need to do shoots, you can just, lay down a backdrop and it's a completely new space. We wanted some white canvas blank walls, obviously for lighting purposes when doing any photo shoots. So previously, all the walls were a white shiplap, and then all of this was a dark kind of reddish hue wooden tone. So it felt really dark and it made the space feel smaller. So it was important for us to kind of open that up, and making it feel more airy was like the end goal. So I think this was a really good combination. Really nice, clean, non-textured walls, no lines, no distractions, and then a really simple, clean wood to kind of complement that. I think in general, this space, which was kind of a surprise, is so quiet. I think it's a really good place to just kind of disconnect and not have any distractions. And when I do get distracted, it's, a little flock of desert quail running around or a little bunny. So it's not something that's gonna kind of interrupt your day, but instead kind of inspire you to, think outside the box.
What's better than a loaf of bread fresh out of the oven? One that you don't make from scratch, but it's still nutritious and delicious. Introducing Wild Grain, a bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas, all sourced from the best small bakeries in the country. It's really fun to build a fully customizable box. There's always something new being added. Here's a bounty from my latest box, including a sourdough loaf, which is ideal for making breakfast sandwiches, my favorite. I'm in love with how convenient it is to enjoy high-quality baked goods. Each bake is 25 minutes or less. No thawing needed. Unlike store-bought sourdough, Wild Grain uses a slow fermentation process that's easier on your belly and good for you. One membership equals 4 meals donated to the Greater Boston Food Bank. So check out Wild Grain today. Click on our link in the description and use our code TINY to get $30 off your first box, and you'll get free croissants for life.
And right above us is the main loft, which has this awesome ladder that's also removable, so you can move it around if needed. We currently have a bed up there to showcase that it could be a sleeping space if ever needed. Usually we keep it for storage, which is great since we don't have a lot of storage solutions. On the bottom, I run my own creative studio, which is what this has kind of turned into, Little Nook Studio. It is a branding and strategy studio where we help brands kind of tell their story in visual ways. Hobby-wise, I love taking photos. I used to do it professionally and now it's more for fun. I was a concert photographer for a long time.
I'm a musician. I make music. I run a bunch of music-related things for a music app, and yeah, just play with a bunch of people, and otherwise I'm just trying to be a cool cat dad.
I think what was, special during the pandemic about having a secondary living space was the ability to host friends and family. Obviously, as the pandemic shifted, we still had this space that was available, and we kind of thought about the idea of hosting, for anyone that wants to come out to the desert that's not necessarily friends or family. We learned that our township itself does not allow for wheeled spaces to be occupied in that capacity. And also, I think it's considered camping on your property, which is illegal, which I found really interesting. So, even if we wanted to just go camp on a tent, it's not okay. But once we found out about the laws, we were kind of upset that if we wanted that option for, a secondary income source or anything like that, that it wasn't available.
So I think there is a lot of room for advocacy and education, and I don't think that ordinances and town councils are rigidly opposed. I think there's just a lot of lack of awareness or understanding of what people are trying to do. And on this side of the tiny, you have our kitchenette. And this to us was plenty enough space as far as envisioning what you would ultimately want when living with a tiny kitchen. When we first got the shell, this came all the way out to almost the windows in the living room, and there were 3 upper cabinets here, which from a storage perspective was great, but it dominated such a high percentage of the space that we opted against it. There was even a range hood, which was, again, cool, but unnecessary. So we removed the upper cabinets and moved a lot of stuff into under-counter storage. So there's a hot water heater, just a nice little 7-gallon that's under here, all electric because, again, solar power. There is an induction cooktop that just goes away into the drawer and can come back out when needed. Same with a kettle, all of the appliances, but they all store away when not in use. We have the vision for when it ultimately becomes a living space maybe someday, but for now it's just the cute little spot that it is. And it is nice to have the kitchenette and just a work surface just for when we're in here working on anything, whether it's just grabbing a snack or making a cup of tea or something like that. And then over in the closet area, there's your room for clothes, obviously. There's a little spot that you could put a suitcase or pull that out as additional seating. There's actually power in the closet, so you could in theory put your refrigerator here if you were going to be living here. And then obviously just storage shelves. In this case, it's kind of a cute little bar inspirational area, but that could be any number of things. And the same ladder that goes on that loft just clamps right on here, and that's how you access all the above storage. And right here's the pocket door, which leads back to the bathroom. The pocket door framework was here, but the door was not. So we had to, one of the fun things when we bought the shell was finding a manufacturer in the right size piece of wood and fitting it all in there. But we ended up getting that to work. So when we first got into the bathroom, there was no toilet, just everything set up for a plumbed toilet, water feed, and the toilet output. There was a giant laundry size sink, which made some sense. Like, okay, you would do your laundry by hand, but it came out to about here. And so to even get around it, to sit here, or it was too much. So we opted to get rid of that and go to a much smaller, tucked in little vanity. And the shower was here, but only as a frame. There was no shower head or anything. Nothing was hooked up yet. One thing I'll point out about the shower is the shower head is actually an RV shower head, so you can actually interrupt the flow on the handle itself, which helps conserve water. For us, we don't need this as like a primary bathroom, but it is really nice as a resource, especially if you don't want to interrupt your creative flow or you just need to do something quick here. Also, just being in the desert and with the really cool garden we support here, all of the sinks drain to a greywater system. So you're not just wasting that water, it's going to water other plants. We happened to be driving just through town one day, and there was a solar power company of all things that had a tiny house for sale in front of their lot. So we stopped over and took a look, and it turned out that it was a total solar off-grid tiny house, and they had plans of maybe making a whole line of these and then just decided against it. But they had this one demo unit which was finished as far as like electrical and like bare bones, but the canvas was awesome, and we decided to take a leap on it and take those bones and make them our own. We bought the work in progress for $40,000, and that was already pretty much the budget. So from there, materials and sweat equity, $2,000-3,000 materials tops. Build process, we definitely bit off more than we expected with this. Not for the worse in the end, we learned a lot, but the work we did on the RV previously was pretty like low impact and more cosmetic, and here it was a lot more structural, and we had great bones to work with. Thankfully, the electrical was in great shape because it was built by a bunch of electricians. The build quality of the whole thing, we're sitting here today and it's Santa Ana winds and we're getting huge gusts, and it doesn't really move around too much. So the bones were great, but as we started diving into, we want to rip apart this, or we want to reduce the size of the kitchen, some of that we did, but then we also found the spots where we would hire help of people that were experts at things, or when we put in the hot water heater under the sink, we had an electrician work on the wiring down there just to make sure everything was on the up and up, because it's less expensive to pay for it to be done right than it is to mess it up drastically and burn down your tiny house. So
I think rewarding wise, just having the vision we had in our heads like come to life was really special.
Thank you for watching our video and for stopping by Tiny House Expedition. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Christian. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And for more tiny home tours and stories, click the videos below.
And join us on Instagram for bonus content,
including face-to-face conversations with us. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.